Heading into the third week of the conflict with Iran, U.S. President Donald Trump says there's practically nothing left to target and that the war will end, quote, soon. But how realistic is that?
For them, it's a war. For us, it's for not to be easier than we thought. I would say, to put it mildly, way ahead of schedule. We've knocked out their Navy, their military in all forms. We've knocked out just about everything there is, including their leadership.
We spoke with Professor Brian Schmidt, an American who now teaches at Carleton University in Ottawa. Professor Brian Schmidt, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I understand you teach a course at Carleton University called The Causes of War, which seems, quite relevant to this discussion, given how many causes, how many reasons we've heard for the conflict in Iran from the U.S. president and his administration, ranging from disarming their nuclear program to regime change to the idea of a preemptive strike. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying at one point that they needed to hit Iran because Israel was going to hit them anyway, and then Iran would strike back against the U.S. So all that to say, I think people can be forgiven for being a little bit confused about what exactly the cause of this war is. Interested in your thoughts on that. What do you make of it? And I mean, does the cause of the war even really matter at this point?
Right. Oh, thank you very much. I think the cause of war matters greatly because it's going to have to be connected to how the war ends. But you're quite right. The administration's given a variety of conflicting and different reasons for why this war was needed. I think ultimately, if you listen to their core objectives, one is to stop Iran's nuclear enrichment program. Two was to dismantle and get rid of their ballistic missile program. And three, getting Iran to stop supporting Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. I think you put those together, and the ultimate goal of this war is regime change. That you really can't fulfill those objectives unless the regime is fundamentally changed. And, it harks back to, I guess, the Bush years and other examples in U.S. history where the idea is that if you topple a regime and turn an authoritarian regime into some type of democracy, that will better serve the U.S. interests. But somehow they got, the idea that if you decapitate the leadership, the people will rise up and you get a government more friendly to you than what existed before. And maybe the most recent example was Venezuela, which maybe they were modeling this operation on, that, if you get rid of the leaders, now Venezuela is a country that the United States can do business with. So I think ultimately the goal here is regime change.
All right. So if we accept that the ultimate goal is regime change, do you think that goal is realistic with this current operation, using airstrikes but no boots on the ground?
Yes, I think, the war is not going to Israel or US's plan, right? This war is not going well for either country. And I think, history shows that you cannot really do regime change through aerial bombardment. The people are not spontaneously rising up because they're seeking shelter from, I think yesterday was one of the most heavy bombardment days yet. So probably ultimately, if your goal is regime change, you will need to put boots on the ground or U.S. troops into Iran, which of course I think this administration does not want to do because that sets you up for that kind of serves Iran. They'll have much more better chance of inflicting pain if there's U.S. soldiers on the ground. But in order to declare victory, if the goal is regime change, I don't see how you do this without boots on the ground, because there's no sign that the regime is cracking or surrendering anytime soon.
Right. And not only is the White House and the U.S. president not talking about boots on the ground, but the noises we've been hearing over the past week certainly sound like, the end could be of this U.S. operation anyway, could be near. I mean, the U.S. President Donald Trump said, quote, soon, when asked how long this would last, when it would be over. So what's your reaction when you hear the U.S. president suggesting that the Americans might be done pretty soon?
Well, you can see why he might be saying that, because again, the war has not gone according to plan. They somehow did not anticipate all of the Gulf states being hit. They didn't anticipate that Iran would dig in rather than surrender. The price of gas, as you well know, is going up, and there seems to be a correlation between high gas prices and administrations running into a lot of trouble in terms of reelection. But the thing that this administration and this Donald President Trump is missing is that when you start war, there's another party involved, and that you're not calling all of the shots. So while the United States might want to pretend that they can end the war, or maybe he's saying this to calm markets, uh, you've unleashed forces when you begin a war, and Iran was really attacked in an unprovoked manner. I don't want to draw too many similarities, but it's not that much different than what Russia did to Ukraine. So I don't see how Iran is going to voluntarily, uh, cry uncle unless it gets something in return, such as the ending of sanctions that have been crippling the country, or even possibly uh, reparations for the damage that's been done. And I can't imagine the United States or Israel ever agreeing to those terms. So, the United States might want to, and if it does, it'll be another war that has been lost, right? If they somehow wrap this war up shortly, and the current regime is still in business, uh, you will be in another lost war. And you can almost guarantee that Iran is going to do triple work to enrich uranium to have a nuclear weapon after this.
Right. I'm sure that the Trump administration and their supporters would take issue with the Ukraine-Russia comparison, but perhaps we can look to another one. I know you've done a lot of research and publications looking at the 2003 war in Iraq, and that one, of course, aimed at Saddam Hussein and the purported weapons of mass destruction. Given your research on that, are there any lessons from that that can help inform our understanding of where we find ourselves now with Iran and what might come next?
Right. Well, if we were smart, the lesson would be that you don't get involved in regime change in the Middle East. It just does not work. Um, that nationalism kicks in when a country is invaded by a foreign power. As much as the people might not like their current government, they really don't like a foreign power coming around, messing around in their own country. And there are similarities. I mean, the Iraq war was going to be quick. The Iraq war was not going to cost any money. That there was going to be upswell of protest amongst the people, and that Iraq was touted as going to be a quick, successful operation. But decade later, and a couple $1 trillion later, the war was a disaster. I mean, Iraq is in a worse position today than it was before, we removed Saddam Hussein. So that should have been the lesson. Somehow, that lesson was lost, or the idea that this was going to be different, or, the United States has such remarkable military capabilities that we would decapitate this regime quickly and efficiently. But now, uh, you got a war that is evolving in a way that neither Israel or the United States anticipated. And obviously, the threat to the global economy grows by the day.
Professor Brian Schmidt from Carleton University in Ottawa, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.